Hi,
Cool.
everyone. Welcome back to Voices of Western, the Human to Western podcast. If you're new, welcome. This is a podcast where we dive deeper into the lives of students, staff, faculty, and alumni here on Western campus and all the affiliate colleges. Today, I am Joe. Well, my name is Emmanuel. I'm one of the hosts for the podcast this year. And today, I'm joined with guest Miles Obilio, who's a third-year student at Western. You can say hi.
Oh, hi.
Hello. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Great. What have you been up to today? We'll start.
I had my radio show at Radio Western. It's called Miles per Hour. I
Very
go for
creative
an
name.
hour and just play songs.
That's really fun, actually. I always wondered how you got into that specifically. Did you just like sign up, or did they just have a general sort of avenue to
I
get to that?
literally just walked in like near the beginning of the year. I was like, I didn't say, I was just like standing there. They gave me the full tour. They were like, what do you want to do? You can like make ads, you can host a show, you can work on marketing. I was like, I kind of want a show. And at the time, they didn't have any slots open, but over the we left, so I got to like kind of start off on my show then, and then I've been doing that throughout the school year now.
That's really fun. What would you say your show's about then? Just music radio show?
Yeah, it's a music show. I don't like script anything to say, so whatever you hear me say on live is like just the songs, or like I'll try and string together a sentence for time, but yeah, I just focus on music. I like highlighting underrepresented artists. I like all the black I like a lot of black music, so we play a lot of those, and just like it challenges me to find Canadian artists and like artists that I don't hear often, which is cool. Got to bring
That's,
some diversity to the station.
yeah, I'm sure that's a really great experience. Um, do you get to like meet a lot of like London artists then, especially since you're working with the Radio Western?
Sort of. I'm like, I know most of like my music friends through the MIA program, Fanshawe, and just like some of at West, my roommates were music students, and they kind of introduced me into the live music scene, and then from there meeting the MIA students, the industry arts,
Industry
and
arts.
everyone's making music there, so it's like a huge scene.
That's really fun. Well, I'm glad that you were able to network that way. I feel like that's a really exciting part about sort of coming away from wherever you were first. I don't know where you're from because geographically in Canada, I guess. Um, okay. How did you start at Western, would you say? Like, what would you describe as the path to where you are right now? I feel like that's been a long and very different journey.
Oof.
As much
Yeah.
detail or as little detail as you want to get into.
Well, I was applying in 2019, 2020, so like right before the pandemic, and I didn't really have a plan. I applied to Ottawa and then Toronto for architecture, mostly on like my parents' suggestion, and I applied here for health sciences. I am not a science student, so I
That's
came
fair.
here and I did the first year of health sciences, and it was not good. It was very interesting. Like I learned a lot of stuff like determinants of health, but overall, just I don't see myself being a doctor or anything in the medical field. So yeah, since then I've kind of just been testing out different courses. I've been an anthropology major, gender studies. I took Spanish, just
Spanish.
like bouncing around courses, electives. I love electives, but I still haven't quite found out what I want to do. I'm thinking like library sciences or teaching, but those are more like graduate programs.
Yeah.
It's just kind of hard to find something to stick to in as an undergraduate. So kind of struggling with that.
I definitely get that. I feel like there's a lot of pressure to like know what you want for your future all the time, and then like, I'm just gonna chase this dream until wait, do I want to do that anymore? And then you go back and like, maybe not that, and then you try something else, which is a bit difficult, I think, especially when there's so many options in terms of like decision
Hmm.
paralysis and stuff like that. I think the way you got about it has been fun with like health sciences to anthropology to gender studies to Spanish. That you could definitely make feel something out of all of those credits at least. Yeah.
It's just hard when like once you declare something, you have to take those courses in order, and like it's kind of like you lose that exploration because in high school I was in the IB program,
Or
so
an
every
Ivy.
single course was
That
I know
sucks.
like I don't do anything academic. I burnt out of that and I haven't recovered since.
Terrible. I'm sorry to hear.
But yeah, there's no freedom to choose, which is why also I think I'm having such a hard time now because I wasn't in high school. I didn't get to like take all the art courses or like outdoor ed or like just have that variety, which sucks. So I guess I'm trying to make up for that now.
Yeah. I feel like there's also a lot more like in-depth exploration you can get right now doing in university or being especially in a different city where you don't like know of everyone. You can like make your own connections through different communities and through different like professors and stuff who are passionate about whatever they do aside from like just a high school where you don't always get to be there. You don't always have the equipment and stuff. Yeah.
Mm.
I think in that and the idea of like exploring things, I know you more broadly as like someone that just does a lot of different things. I think like jack of all trades kind of person where um when I first heard about you as a personality, it was like in like mid second year and you were like you had a crochet account and that was popping. I don't think that's the thing you do now. And
No.
then yeah, so would you want to talk about how you started that and how you left it behind? Well, that's dramatic, but how
Um,
you went away from that, I guess.
yeah, I have done too many things. But I love it. It's good and also it's a good experience. I don't think there's anything bad with it. It's kind of like finding yourself. But yeah,
Yeah.
after first year, I was in a rut with like finding work because it was like pandemic year two. So I
Mhm.
was in London for the summer and I did not have a job. I'd been trying like all of first year to find something, no one was hiring, everything was closed.
Mhm.
And then over the summer, I couldn't get anything either. So I figured, let me try and like monetize a hobby.
Oh, that always goes
And
well.
I mean, it was all right. I'd learned to crochet during the pandemic, and I kind of picked that back up because I wanted to make hats and stuff for the winter. And I did that. I made some market, but I think I think the pressure to like make things for myself, but also for other people, was a lot because I feel like a lot of people wanted me to recreate things because that was also the time when crochet was popular and like there were the trends of like the Harry Styles cardigan and like
Yeah.
cool balaclavas and all that stuff. And I felt like I was making more for a trend than like what I actually liked making. I don't know if you can see it. There's like a pillow over there. I like
Um,
myself to be like crazy,
yeah.
but yeah, having to fit into a specific thing to make didn't really mesh with me. And it kind of like ruined the hobby for me,
Oh,
monetizing it.
that sucks. Do you like not do it at all now, or is it just like you do it occasionally for yourself only?
I want to start getting into it again. I used up all the yarn I'd stockpiled from that time. I
Mm.
either gave it away or like I used it for things.
You
And
gave
I
me a bunch
haven't
of yarn. You can like have it back if you want the
no
brand.
no, it's okay. But yeah, maybe I will. I've been thinking about it
Oh, it's
mostly
good.
for like monetization, but also
Um,
It'll be fun to get into it. I just have to find something new, maybe not clothes, but like pillows or something.
yeah. I feel like you are one of the first um crochet accounts I saw popping up like around people that I actually know. I think it was like
Hmm.
you, like I had like Nurhan was on the podcast last year, and she was also one of the big crochet accounts at the time. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah. So what did you end up doing after you decided to stop monetizing crochet?
I don't really remember. I think that I took a bit of a break, like health reasons.
Mm.
I came back and I think that was when I started getting into art again, like drawing, because I'd stopped in high school from just awful experiences in class. But I decided to start drawing again, trying to have fun with it. And then I think I got into zines, and no, it was collaging was my big thing, and then drawing,
Oh,
and then
oh.
zines.
I didn't have collaging on there, but I should. I have like two of your collages and I really like them. How'd you get into collaging at first? What was that experience?
That was also in high school. We did My teacher had brought in a bunch of National Geographics, and we had to do like a mini assignment where we chose a color and like found pages that corresponded to that color. So I stole a few of the magazines from her class and I just started making collages. So like if you scroll back far in the page, the first posts there are like those collages. And
Oh,
then during the pandemic, I kind of built on that and um made more. I didn't it's not really like it's more like expressive for me because it's I kind of collage what I'm feeling. It All the images have like representation of these feelings. Like I kind of put together a story as I make it. So I don't know how other people see it, but it might not look like anything. But to me, like I can get certain emotions. Like there's one about grief, and it's about like feeling lonely, like not who you are. And then there are other like lighthearted ones. I made one about Mother Nature, but just like, yeah, it's a good way for me to put things out. It's so colorful and like there's so much on the page. I love maximalism. So
yeah.
it's just a
I
good
love
way for me to
maximalism.
express myself.
Yeah, definitely is. How long have you been, I suppose, like exploring self-expression through art? Or what, I guess that's kind of a loaded question because I guess everyone has to do that at some point. But like, um, was that a continuous thing for you across growing up? And did that pick up more at some point in your life?
I think it really started in high school. I keep going back to high school, but that was
It's
like a
the
really
roots.
the beginning of everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think being able to find a way to express myself without words. So I'm not really the best talker. I prefer to write things down or like um, finding an outlet to kind of draw things or like putting my what's going on in my head on paper is a good way to get things out. So I think now being able to draw and being able to collage, even sometimes crocheting, just to like get out energy.
Mm.
That's kind of been what I've used art for.
Yeah, and that's a really good way to use art. I think that like growing up, I really liked drawing a lot, especially in high school, which I now do not associate with drawing at all because I don't like high school. But
Mhm.
like I love doing it. Then I stopped doing because I was like, I keep doing this for other people, and then I don't feel like it's fun anymore. And which is like that's the same experience you had with crocheting. It's like, oh, I can draw portraits of people to give to them as like gifts and stuff because they asked me to. It's like, oh well, do I want to keep doing this myself? And then I stopped. But I'm getting back into it now myself. I feel like it's really nice to feel like I can still make things, and making things just feels like good in general.
Mhm. We have
Mm.
the innate need to make.
It's human to create. It's fun.
Mhm.
Yeah. I feel like I have been trying. Well, not. I sort of try here and there. I will be like, I can try this today, and I trying to learn animation a little bit, and I think you have too. Um, and like I've always really liked cartoons and animation in that way, but have always been like afraid of like just trying it because it often feels
Mhm.
like, oh, to like do this advanced thing, I need to get really good at this basic thing, and I'm like okay at this basic thing at best. Um, but I think that's also a really like it's a big rut to find yourself in where like, oh, I can't do this until I finished this thing entirely. Where it's like, oh, I can't I don't know, I know what a good analogy would be. Like, I can't I can't make this extravagant dessert unless I learn how to whip cream by hand. It's like, oh, well, you can still do it, but like poorly. It doesn't have to be
Mhm.
perfect when you first try. And I tried making a little animation thing, and it turned out well. It was a little blob, and just moving
Nice.
across a page, just fun. And you
That's
animate a
awesome.
lot as well. Yeah, how has that been
Oh
for you?
yeah. You have to show me
I will.
your animation. Um, yeah, yeah, going off of that, like there's a quote, I don't like know it at all, but like the premise is like a lot of artists stop because they have good taste, but the taste doesn't translate what you're actually doing as a beginner. And I
Oh
get that
yeah,
too all the time. Like
that's yeah.
something new I want to do, if I'm not instantly good at it, I'll just not do it.
Just
That's
stop. It's like, oh, that's the whole thing. Like I called it creative dissonance to a couple friends of mine where it's like I have so vividly an idea of what I want to put out right now. Um, but like I'm so scared of trying it and then it not coming out the way I envision it in my head. It's like imagining a circle and then like trying to draw a circle and be like, no, it's not perfect. What happened? Um,
Mhm.
yeah, like I remember for we can move on to science a bit in a little bit, but like for your first POC or Punk 2 side, I had like a really vivid idea of what I wanted to do for it. And I was like, wow, this would be really cool to see in a thing. I don't know if I could do it, so I'm not gonna try because if I do it and it comes out poorly, I will be really bad at myself.
Hmm. No, I
Yeah,
get that, but you should submit. You have to submit for the second one.
I will. I'll try. I'll try.
Yay.
Yeah. But science then, how did you come into design making and also producing? I'm gonna call it producing your own sign is what that was, right?
Oh, I feel like a beat maker.
Yeah, executive producer.
Um, I think the first one I made was during that COVID summer. It was just I like had written a bunch of poems with just like a few lines of text, called What the Body Knows. And that was all based on um just like things to do with my childhood, like dancing and being a shy kid or anxious, like autism coded,
Fair.
ADHD, just stuff like that. Like there's one, my favorite one out of it. I have it on my wall, but
Yeah.
it's like based on how like I'd be a really slow eater at dinner and I'd just be like looking at the trees as the sunset and like seeing faces and becoming friends with those. Just like things to bring me back to my childhood. And I like made collages on every page. I never I turned it into a book, but it was only for myself and I didn't print it until I made prints to just I want to turn it into a book and like give them out someday, but I'm lazy. And also I like fill my plate with 50 things at once. But one
Yeah,
day it will happen.
I'm sure you'll get there. I think that like I relate a lot to the idea of remembering like childhood and like going back to it all the time. Be like, oh yeah, that was such a great experience. I want to like look at sometimes, but I don't have pictures of myself as a kid, and I don't like. I used to be really used to be. I still am really afraid that I'm not the adult that a child me would have liked. Although
Mhm.
because it's like, oh, I was so creative back then. I liked so many things, and now I'm really scared all the time. So who knows if I'm as good as he was back then. I think like one of the childhood experiences I think about often is like being in a car and then like I don't know if that is something that everyone did, but like driving by and then like imagining someone like running across the window from you.
Hmm.
Is that like a universal experience? Would you say?
Yeah, my guy could go on the grass, but then like on the highway it'd be long strips of grass, so we just feel like floating.
Yeah, it'd be like a jumping video game where you have to like jump and dodge as many things you can, but like keeping
Mhm.
up and to not fall back. But when I think of like creating and like visualizing things, I think of like my childhood a lot, where I would sort of like a lot of what, like the ideas that I have for animation is just like to music I like and like making music videos. Animated music videos are like such a core part of my personality, I think, from growing up because I watched a lot of them because they were really nice.
Mhm.
And I think the idea of like getting to extend the childlike wonder of like creating and visualizing things and like just getting lost in your own head in a way that didn't feel as getting lost in your own head in a way that doesn't feel as dramatic as dissociating does to current us.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So in design making, we talked about your animation and things you've done there. I know you've done quite a bit.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't done any recently. Just like not in the mood
That's
to
fair.
say. I've kind of I applied to some film festivals
Hmm.
for I made a short film last school year, like the end of the school year, called Knots, which is like um it was just like a series of knots that I used of like different fiber related activities like crocheting and like string stuff.
Hmm.
So I applied to a few of those over the summer and I got rejected like 5 times. So that was
No.
kind of a killer.
Can be.
So I haven't really done anything since then. I want to though.
Hmm.
But yeah, I like animating in general. It's also been something I did as a kid, just like flip books, like on my notebooks and stuff, like it's stick people.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's very forgiving, like because everything is moving so fast. If you're just sloppily making frames, the end result will still come out cool. I feel like
Yeah.
there's no real way to do it wrong, and there's so much experimentation. Like I got into experimental animation, just like following OCAD and like um the other ones in the States, just like the art schools that have animation courses and like seeing what they're doing in different cities. Like they have massive just film festivals for collectives, queer film festivals, just like little like the art students will make animations and um screen it somewhere. I really
Hmm.
wish we could have that here. I mean, we sort of do with the Frames film series, but it would be cool to just like have a community where everyone's just having fun making films.
Yeah, it would be. I feel like I hear that a lot about like London's creative scene, where like a lot of people say that like, oh, it'd be so nice if we could have this thing in London. But people aren't always like showing up and stuff like that. But there are people who are really interested in this thing, which just it's hard to like get everyone in one space and be like, hey guys, we're all doing this thing right now. Um, which certainly sucks, but I'm sure that like be in time because London's getting bigger and this is a it's becoming a more creative city, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think London Film Festival is either happening right now or ended recently. I went to a
Yes.
couple of the ended, did it?
Oh, I don't know if it ended. I just knew it
Okay.
was
I know,
going on.
yeah, it's going on around this time, but yeah, like that's a really big endeavor. And it's like something like very few people know about outside of like people who are specifically interested in that kind of creative endeavors. Whereas like a couple of weeks ago, I like was seeing things about Ottawa Animation Film Fest, and I was like, oh my God, that looks so cool. Why am I in London? It's so boring here. There's nothing here. But it's like, oh, if I had like just looked a little harder, I could have found, oh yeah, London does a film festival I could go to. That'd be pretty cool also. But it's hard to you get a lot of tunnel vision when you like look at where else is doing the thing you want to be doing rather than like trying to find it where you are, or trying to make it where you are, which is also a big undertaking in itself. But it's you know, things are around. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I get that too. Like end of first year, I was like, oh, there's nothing to do here. I shouldn't have come. And I even went so far, like I applied to McGill and stuff, just
Wow.
like, oh, I need to get out of here as soon as possible. But then I gave it a chance. Like this summer, I gave it a chance and I made friends who actually live here and like just opened myself up to new experiences. And now like there's so much to do.
There is quite a bit to do. I feel like London, people give London a bad rep because they miss the idea of bigger cities like Toronto or something like that. But it's a big city. I was complaining about this because I was upset that like it was hard to get here. Like I got this is a tangent I would go on. I'm not going to go on it. I got stranded in Windsor, and there is no way to get back from Windsor to London after like 6 p.m. And
Oh
that's like
no.
the closest major city going west, I think, besides like yeah, I think it is. Um, and I was like, but London's like the fifth biggest city in Ontario. I think that's true. I think outside the GTA, it's the fourth biggest city in all of Ontario, and it's like impossible to get here. Absurd, absurd. But it's a big city enough for it to have like people who are creative and want to be creative here, not like just take their creativity and go somewhere else. We have, I think, two Comic Cons, the London Comic Con and Forest City Comic Con, and those are pretty big for people here. But I think everyone just like envisions the idea of like, oh, the city, and then they think of like, oh, downtown Toronto or just Toronto in general, where there's always something happening. But London definitely has its moments, and it's something to look for, I think.
I would actually love a subway system here. I don't care if it's not feasible. I just love the subway.
Subways. I feel like I am a trains guy through and through. I love a little train, love a little train moments. I feel like
Yes.
although I don't like London isn't great for transit, and the way that like the train just comes right through Richmond and all the time. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, I guess you could do that, or you could like make a better train system, but you can't now because it's already there and moving things. Well, we're not architects, or you didn't get to be.
Nope.
Um, no, we're moving on from that. Hmm. So, as a creative person, I know that like that can be some sort of turbulence with um family, especially if your parents wanted you to be architects in the first place. Do you want to talk about how that sort of shifts dynamic happened to get where you are, and if it's been easy or whatever?
Um, yeah, I do not come from an arts family. I don't know where in the genes my my art skills came from, but yeah, my parents are both in the medical field now. Um, and I mean they've never not been accepting of like my arts. Like they've encouraged it to an extent. Like you can do art, we'll get you the art set, but you're playing soccer and you're doing dance and you have to keep up your academics, and academics comes first. And so that's kind of been the thing the whole time. I could never really bring up, oh, I want to go to art school. This has been my dream to go to art school
Mm,
because you can't get a degree in art or like you can't make a living off of art or it's useless.
yeah.
So I kind of kept that to myself and internalized it. And it's still being internalized, which is why I haven't really taken the leap to just like get a bachelor's of fine arts or something. But
Mm.
yeah, I really thought about like just going and applying to an art school in high school, but didn't because I thought, okay, maybe I can do art on the side and like do what my parents want me to do. But I quickly found out doing the health science courses that I could not do that. I
No.
was miserable and like same with being trans. You can like hide it for as long, but it's always gonna be there until you just like examine the problem and fix it.
Yeah, it's a heavy thing to like sort of like shove down and like I'll come back to this when it makes more sense. I had like my comparison isn't as cool to gender expression or that, but like that's how I felt about therapy a lot. I was like, oh, like I'll do this when it's like feasible and I'm past, I'm graduated, I have a job. I'll explore everything that happened in childhood and I'm a grown up and better from everything else. And then I was like, no, I can't keep living like this. Actually, it's not really good for me or anyone around me. But I feel like especially having well, this isn't to put the blame on them, but like having African parents. My parents are Nigerian. I'm Nigerian. I think you are too.
Me too.
Yeah, good for us. Having like Nigerian there too, like come into the country with the very, very crude understanding of how capitalism works and how everything needs to happen in order to succeed. It's like, oh well, exploring outside that made a box is a bit difficult when it's like, this isn't gonna make you money. This isn't making you money right now. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? This is yeah. So
Mhm.
exploring things and like trying to find who you are and what you want to be like outside like what I guess family in general can set for you can be really difficult.
Yeah, I was gonna say something, but I forgot.
So fair. You take your time, remember it.
No, it's gone.
That is so fine. That is so fair. Um, would you say that your parents are supportive of your like art stuff currently? Because I feel like it's been a while since you have been doing that there. Or is that much the same?
I actually stopped telling them about my art stuff a long time
Uh
ago.
that would prove
I
not
don't
then.
think they know any. I'm also not talking to them, so it's another. That's a story for another
Couple
day.
contingent things. I get that. Moving on from that then. Um, I feel like uh, parenthood aside, being a person of color, like an African person, Nigerian person in London is certainly an experience, especially when you have like that being queer, being in a more creative space can be like adding a bunch of labels to yourself, being like, ooh, where do I fit in now? Um, and like even though life isn't about labels, it can be hard to feel, I guess, it can be hard to feel community a lot of the time when you're exploring a new space. But I feel like you've done that quite well with or like POCR Punk 2's design, and I feel like you have a very big network around you. Like I know of you through so many people. And I'm like, oh, Miles has been this like cool guy I want to talk to for years. Until now I'm talking to you right now. But yeah, how would you say you came into sort of community here and being a person of color and stuff?
Um, um, my
Loaded
way
question,
is
my bad.
it's okay. It's just embarrassing for me
No.
because when I got here, my network building was Tinder.
Hmm.
Being queer, like I it's really hard to find people, especially during COVID. There was no one outside. There was no events happening. It was just shut at home. I didn't know where to look on like Instagram or anywhere. So I got on Tinder and I wasn't even like the purpose for dating, just like to meet someone here who like wasn't someone I knew in residence. And yeah, I kind of just like say hi to people. I don't we talk. I'd like delete the app and then download a different app and there'd be more people. Say hi, follow each other on Instagram. Maybe it doesn't lead anywhere, but like maybe we hang out, we're friends. But yeah, I slowly started doing that. I had I had friends and then
Glad.
just like I don't even know now how it happens. Like people would come up to me and they're like, "Hey, you're Miles. Someone just talked to me. You know Miles. I know Miles." I'm like, "What are people saying about me? I hope it's good."
That's fair. I hate like I hate that like oh my God, I heard so much about you. It hurts. It's like why? Who's telling you anything about me? But Yeah, I guess you don't like being known this much, or was
No,
because being known.
it's nice. I like knowing people because like when you go somewhere, like you have a friend there with you. I always
Yeah,
wanted like a twin so that you always have a friend to be beside you. I don't like doing things by myself. I'd
that's
like
so
to like
fair.
go somewhere with a group. And also I feel like all the people I've met have such different experiences, but we can all relate on some level, whether it be like we're both trans or non-binary, or like queer, or like we know this person, we have good experiences with this person, we have bad experiences with this person. We make art together, we like did swimming together, we hung out one time, or like people I've known 2 years ago, I like are not the same people I know now. Just like building a network and community and like having people in your corner, I feel is so important, especially a city like this.
Yeah, I definitely get that sort. I feel like it's fun to grow your bubble and then like absorb more bubbles into that where you're like, oh, I know this person do this, I know this person do that. And then like you don't have to feel like you're trapped somewhere because you have friends there, you have people you know, you have reasons to keep looking for other things to be doing because you're not going to feel alone in doing them. Those are
Mm.
nice. Okay. So what would you say you're working on right now? I know that you have your POC's Punk Zine 2 coming out soon. You want to talk about that or whatever else you have going on?
Yes, I have put a lot of things on my plate. Um,
Classic.
um, the POCR Punks 2 zine is coming out soon.
Yeah.
Might be pushed back because I kind of forgot I put out a call. I like
Yeah, it's
woke up
hilarious.
one morning and I was like, we got to do a second issue. And I like scribbled the thing and I posted it and I'm like, okay, whew. And I forgot about it. And I realized today it's a week and I haven't updated anyone, even myself, on what's going on. So that's I'm a good like procrastinator worker, so I'll get things done eventually.
It'll happen
But
at
yeah,
some point.
that's coming out. Looking for submissions from people of color who are punks. You don't even have to be punk. It's like if you feel like you've been an outsider or you are an outsider or like you have this frustration with the world that you want to get out, write about it, draw about it, do whatever, send it to me.
Yeah.
I do give compensation, monetary compensation.
I'm glad that this works as an ad. I'll put it up as an ad
Yeah,
for
sorry,
you. No,
not
no,
the
no
plug.
problem. No, it's good. It's good. I think it's incentive. Um, I'll make sure it's out in time for people to hear it and then submit to the design project. How would you describe punk specifically yourself?
I think punk to me, I'm a poser. I didn't get into punk until like last year, but I've never really felt like I grew up in mostly white school. I was the only black person in a lot of my classes. So I could not relate to like the white girls on the soccer team or like the white people anywhere. And
Yeah,
then like coming to Western, I feel like I tried to fit in and there's nothing wrong with like the black community here. I just like being queer adds a different layer to that. And I felt like there was still this boundary because I'm like not a party person. I prefer to make art and like I kind of don't have the same lived experiences because I was raised in a predominantly white town and I'm not as good as making friends. And it's just like this disconnect. So finding punk was really cool because it's this alternative. I like I like dressing up and like looking unique and changing things about myself. And I found that in punk. But then so that whiteness in punk that's dominant, especially in London. And so that's like a third time around of me like not fitting in and like still there's this disconnect. So being punk for me is just like finding a space in myself and like taking parts from everywhere to make myself and like being this, I guess, fragment. And so yeah, just like meeting people who also feel like that, POC, who's like never been able to fit into a group no matter what. Just us finding a space together is really important. That's what I want to do with Peter Punk, and that's what I want to find as a community.
That's really good. Really good explanation of what that is. I feel like it's the kind of experience that like intersectionality has, where it's like the further down you go in terms of intersectionality, the harder, the more isolating it does feel. Um, Especially because it's hard to keep going in along that space and feel like, oh, if I do this, I'll have less people to connect with. Then like you don't want to do it for that reason, or like you do it anyway, and you're like, oh well, but that's like all my friends are gone. Or everyone I knew is like do something else, and I feel like I'm doing this for myself. So it's good to feel like you can create your own community in being punk, which is really nice. And I'm glad that you have that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'm not really sure what the next question was supposed to be phrased as. I wrote down like a bunch of different topic ideas and a lot, and like one of them was just activism, and I don't know how I will segue into that.
Just
Did
say activism.
activism. How do you feel? Pro or con?
I like
Pro.
activism. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty
I like
cool.
activism too.
Yeah, oh, do you just want me to like talk about it?
I do not know. I don't remember how I wrote that down. There was an idea to make a prompt about it, and I didn't, which is my own fault. But we can
That's
talk about
okay.
activism if you'd like, and how that plays into yourself and your identity and lived experience and such.
I honestly, I don't want to be an activist. That's been like the last thing I've ever wanted to do. Cause I'm glad that I moved cities because the person I used to be in like elementary school and high school is so different than who I am now. I was like the most scared person in the room. Like I would never speak up for anything. I'm so like meek and shy. And so like I never really had an opinion on anything. But like growing up, I kind of just took things as they were because I guess I didn't know better. I didn't have anyone to be like, no, this is wrong. Like you shouldn't be treated like this. And like you shouldn't be the only white person in your, I mean, black person in your class. Imagine if I was
Yeah.
white. But I think just like learning about certain things like the civil rights movement and briefly about like residential schools, it really struck a chord with me. Like this discrimination and um like I don't know how to phrase it, but just like knowing that if I was in their shoes or like if I me right now, if I was back there, I would be treated so much differently. And why were my teachers just treating this like, oh yeah, it had to happen? And like learning about myself and my identity and learning I was trans and learning how trans people were treated, learning how black people were treated and how I felt like I had it so easy, it kind of took me on this path like, what am I doing to help out other people that maybe don't have the same chances? What can I do to learn about why humans do these things and why injustices like these happen? And it's kind of like it feels like a duty to, well, if I know about this now, I have to do something about it. Like even if I don't want to, I'm kind of like, oh, I kind of don't want to do this. But like the longer it sits in my mind, like, okay, kids in Saskatchewan, trans kids are now gonna be forced to out themselves. I was in a similar position in high school, and if I was a kid then, this would have happened to me. And I would want someone to be speaking up for me. So I feel like I should too. And of course, I'm not well versed in every single issue. I'm still learning. I didn't
Yeah.
have like there's a lot more I could have learned, but I feel like now like digging into that feeling of like this is something that's happening and it's gonna sit in my mind unless I actually get out and like write about it or make art about it or use my skills, whatever I can to help. It will make me feel better. And that's kind of just like what I've been trying to touch in the past, I guess, year now, or not year, I don't know, whenever I started doing this.
Yep, that's fair. I think yeah, that's a really nice approach to it, I think. Uh I definitely know a lot of like what you do through like what you've spoken out about on your Instagram account and other things like that. And it's like it's cool to see that you through growing up and through having these experiences and through like wanting to create so much, you are trying to create in a way that like would have helped you as a kid growing up. Also, just really
Mhm.
nice. I feel like whether that is through like zines and making things that express how you felt as a kid or express how you feel right now, or like making like your own like sort of groups and friend groups where you get to fit in yourself and then trying to branch that out into like how can other people who would have had my experiences feel good about themselves as well. I think that's a really nice thing that you're able to do and that you're continuing to do, and it's really commendable. Good job on your part.
Thank you. I feel like it does. I'm not in therapy right now, but it does that part of therapy that's like heal your inner child.
Yeah,
So it doesn't fix all the problems, but it feels good. Like even making art, just making it for fun and using like kids' materials and just doing it not for an end product, just to have a physical thing, it can go such a long way.
yeah, it really can. And that is all the questions and prompts I had for you. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on the podcast and talk about whatever the list of things we talked about. I feel like it was pretty expensive. I'm not really sure. I tried to
Yeah.
have a goal. I just went like, oh yeah, this guy knows art, and then I kept trying to talk about different parts of art. But yeah, I hope you had a good experience with it, and it was really nice talking to you.
Yeah, this is awesome. My voice hurts from talking so much. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry your voice hurts. Okay, I hope you drink some water. Um, yeah, have a great rest of your day. This has been Voices of Western. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, bye.
Do I have to say on
Hi again. Well, thank you for listening to Voices of Western, the Humans of Western podcast. I've been your host, Emmanuel. Feel free to follow Humans of Western on Instagram, on our Instagram account at humans_Western, our TikTok, Humans of Western, as well as our YouTube channel, Humans of Western. For more of our podcasts, check out Voices of Western on all podcast platforms. Thanks for listening and have a great day. And